Welcome to EnduringTechnologyPress.com. I'm Eric. And in this video, I thought I'd cover why you'd want to get a grain mill. And not necessarily this one that we'll show you how to build in one of our booklets, but any other quality grain mill. So the ability to produce flour and baking grade flours from whole grains. I guess the first thing that I'd offer up is that you improve your nutrition. When you take a whole grain product and grind it here, what you get is 100% extraction flour. And sure, you could sift out some of the bran if you wanted to, but at least in my household, the whole grain product is what goes through the baking. It tastes great. My kids love it. There's no detriment to it. And really, it's improved nutrition. You're getting everything that was in that seed is coming through and going into your baked products. When you go with the commercial white flour, they take out usually the bran, but what they really take out is what the germ had in it. And that has a lot of the nutrients, including the fats. And those fats spoil very quickly, which makes it possible or reasonable for you to store whole grain, but as soon as you grind it, that has a very definite shelf life. So it's not really feasible to transport that, sit it on the shelf for a week, and have it go bad, and then have to dump it. That's a commercial environment. At home, where you grind your own, you can grind enough for a day or two and put it aside, and you're going to have awesome, fresh, highly nutritious whole grain flour. And you can do that if you have your own mill. Not really as logistically feasible if you have to go somewhere else and have somebody else custom grind it for you. Second reason would be to diversify your flour options for baking. Now, most people probably think there's wheat flour, right? And maybe you could pick up rye in one of those little runty packages for specialty baking, or you could go to a specialty bulk store and pick up a few different grain options or flour options. And again, they're unlikely to be whole grain unless you go to some place that's refrigerating them or grinding them fresh. In my household, I'll bake with modern wheats, hard and soft. I'll bake with old wheats. So red Fife is rather really commonly used here, and that's the wheat that opened up the Canadian West. It's a really neat wheat to bake with. Most of my quick breads and muffins and other things that aren't leavened with yeast and don't rely on that gluten, I like to use barley and hulless barley, and there's a couple of varieties that I really go to. CDC McGuire is one that I pick up that is just fantastic. It's got a really nutty, sweet taste that complements those muffins and those other baked goods, the sweet goods, wonderfully. And you're not going to get that by going to your 20-pound sack of flour. You only get that if you grind it yourself. I also pick up rye and make rye bread, but I really like triticale. Rye would be my second choice over triticale. Triticale is a wheat-rye cross, and it was done naturally. It's not a GMO or anything like that, so people don't need to get weirded out. But it has some of the advantages agronomically of both wheat and rye cultivars, or varieties of grain. But from a baking perspective, it also has some of those same things too. So it produces, usually for a traditional rye bread, you'd want to cut it with a wheat flour anyway. Here, if you use triticale, I just use triticale. It's got enough gluten that it sticks together nicely, but it gives you that denser texture that you'd expect from a traditional rye bread. It's really awesome, really unique. You're probably not going to get it unless you grind your own. So the diversity of flour options for baking is a good one. And if you're a foodie, that's something that's a real selling point. The next is lower cost. And if you go to the store, you can either buy regular breads. You can make regular breads at home, and it's quite a bit cheaper too. But if you go with whole grain products, they really are branded as a premium product. Again, flavor, nutrition, all those factors, the market recognizes that whole grain products are a premium product. They cost more money because of that status, right? Here, you can produce that premium product at home with ease and cut your costs. And you can produce better and fresher than you'd ever get it at a store. Final reason is that you can store and use whole grains. and that gives you the opportunity to gain more control over your food supply. I buy in bulk, or I buy from a farmer, and I'll store a whole grain. I don't need to worry about price fluctuations in the market or whether anything else has happened, or gyrations or geopolitical concerns. And it's nice to know sometimes that, you know, I've got a couple 100 pounds of grains and we'll eat well no matter what. And that is also cheaper, and it's also more nutritious. And it has that foodie option where it really is an exceptional product. So for all those reasons, I think you should get a grain mill, and get one that's not going to frustrate you. If you're going to bake with it on a regular basis, it should be large enough. And whether it's this one that has 6-inch burrs that we'll show you how to make in the book, or another good option, there's a bunch out there that you can purchase rather than build yourself. Buy one, and I think you'll really see that it pays off in what you can produce and the quality of the goods you can produce. So if this has been of interest to you and you'd like more information that aims to empower your independence, visit EnduringTechnologyPress.com. Thanks.